Alright, so, hello. I just wanted to record a little bit of audio about how to approach speedrunning for somebody who isn't a speedrunner, because when I started trying to speedrun, I did this wrong all the time, and I think it's part of the reason I never got into it for so long. Or rather, I didn't think I could do it for so long. If you don't know me, my name is, well, Flicky online. I wanted to be a speedrunner for a very long time. From about 2006 to 2010, I was that nerdy kid who thought it was some kind of magical, impossible skill I didn't have yet. And then eventually I figured it out. And I think just because it took me so long to do it, that's a good reason why I would be a good person to tell you about it. Basically, approaching speedrunning is a really, I don't say it's a big problem, but I think it's a problem that's harder to get over than the people who sort of picked up speedrunning easily think it is, which is why when they give advice they'll say something like, just copy me, which doesn't really help a beginner person, because obviously if you could just copy them, you'd be doing that, there'd be no problem with that. So I wanted to go into a little bit about that. Firstly, I think with speedrunning, this is something I picked up recently from other subjects, I guess, mostly in languages and strength training. It's something you need to pick up. It's not something I can specifically teach you. You have to try it and do it yourself as well. However, if you're approaching it incorrectly, there's no way you're going to pick it up. Like a lot of people, these language geniuses say, oh, you just read a book in that language and you'll pick it up. Well, if you have no idea how to read a book in that language, how the hell are you going to pick it up? It's the same deal here. If I say, just play the game, well, technically, that is the way you do it. That doesn't help you because you have no idea how to play the game and so on. It's useless. It's absolutely useless. So what I want you to bear in mind while listening to this is that you already know how to play video games. You just don't know how to play video games like this. I think that's part of the reason so many people say it's easy to learn. So, simply put, if you can run 5k, literally 5 kilometers, you can't just run a marathon. You can't do it. Well, you might be able to, it's going to take you a very long time. Alternatively, you wouldn't expect to be able to run a marathon. And I think that's part of it, is managing the expectations of what you can and can't do. Let's take a very famous example of a trick, and one that's always used for this because it kind of fits the example perfectly, and that's cannonless in Super Mario 64. If you don't know what cannonless is, it's basically an incredibly precise trick that allows you to get a star way before you should. Cannonless is not something you should expect to be able to do. Neither is beating a world record immediately, beating someone's PB, or being able to follow a route on your first time playing through the game. Probably, depending on the game, even expecting to be able to beat the game without dying is something you shouldn't expect to do. So the first thing I would say for how to approach a run is to manage your expectations well. It's similar. You wouldn't expect, if you first went to the gym, to be able to lift 100 kilos or 225 pounds. You wouldn't expect to be able to squat that the first time you went to a gym. So why would you expect to be able to play through an entire game and speedrun it to the perfect route and do all the tricks the first time? You shouldn't. It doesn't work like that. Now, I thought I could, and then I'd get upset and disappointed when I couldn't. A key example of that is when I tried to run Ape Escape way back when, and infinite jumping in the game. Basically, you can jump again, and just keep jumping as much as you want with a little bit of flick of the right stick using the slingshot. Now, I thought because I couldn't do this, I sucked at speedrunning and I was destined to never be able to speedrun. Obviously not true. I didn't even know the route for the levels, I didn't even know what monkeys to go for, I didn't know anything about the game, but I immediately started off and thought I could do that. And then when I realised I couldn't do that, I thought, well, I suck at speedrunning. It's not the case. Managing expectations is basically the first place people go wrong. When you first speedrun a game, your expectation should be, I'm going to maybe finish this game. If the game's hard, it should be, I'm going to finish this game in a few sessions, or I'm going to finish this game and die less than when I first did it. Essentially, your first time you run a game, your expectation should be, I'm going to finish this game without watching cutscenes. That's essentially it. You can't expect any more than that. These are hard the first time. Your hardest run is going to be the first one you do. Why make it harder by adding in all these complicated tricks and so on? So that's the expectation. You need to manage that one. if you're, say, expecting... What's your goal? Let's think of a goal for you. You want to beat the Ocarina of Time 80% world record. That's your goal. First of all, lofty goal. Good luck with that one. It would be quite difficult. However, you need goals in between that goal and where you are now, which is essentially going to be 0.0 on this. So if your goal is 0.1, you're at 0.0. You need a goal at 0.1. You need a goal at 0.2. You need a goal at 0.3. And then maybe you can shift the goals depending on where you want to go. But your goals need to be clever. They need to make sense. They need to be logical. So managing expectation, I think, is the first way to go through it. A lot of people now are saying your first run, just play the game. Just play it again. I mean, I generally play games 3 times through before I start running it. It's quite hard for me on some of the games I play. They're meant to be difficult modern games like Bayonetta, Vanquish. I've been playing recently, 141-1. They're meant to be difficult games. So I would not expect to be able to do a single segment blind run of that game without getting frustrated or annoyed at how often I'm dying. That's a silly goal. So you need to manage what your expectations are going to be. Simply put, set an easy goal. And then when you get it, set another goal that's slightly harder, and so on, until you get to the right one. You can keep your main goal in sight, but, you know, it needs to be there. And it's the same deal as I said earlier with running. Key example, you might be able to run 100 meters. I hope you can run 100 meters. If you can't, you need to, you know, get on a diet and start exercising or something. But you wouldn't expect to be able to beat Usain Bolt out of the blue. You wouldn't even be able to expect to beat maybe the fastest guy in your area of your country. You wouldn't expect it. It's the same deal with games. You need to build up to that point. It sounds simple and logical, and there's probably people thinking, what the hell, duh. But honestly, this catches a lot of people out. Once you've done that, you can build up gradually. You can acquire the skills you need as you go through the game. A very key example, as I said before, is doing hard tricks. Don't do hard tricks the first time you play. I like to save hard tricks as late as possible. The same deal with the actual route itself. I like to save learning the true route until I've come up with a rubbish one of my own. There are many benefits to that, but I think the main reason is you can't fail the route you've made yourself, because the route you've made yourself is as good as you are. You don't make a route to start with that you can't do. Other people will make a route that they can do. If they're way better than you, you're not going to be able to do it. You might be able to do it, but probably not to start with anyway. But then give it a couple weeks, months, whatever, and you will. You'll find it easy. Maybe you'll find stuff they couldn't do. So that's how it goes. You need to naturally progress through your speedrun. You know, don't try and jump ahead. You wouldn't try and jump ahead in other things. It doesn't really work unless you're a natural genius. If you're a natural genius, you don't need to be listening to me talk about it. So, I mean, that's a simple case. Don't do the hard tricks. Don't learn other stuff. Just go your own pace. Route the game yourself casually. I'm going to give a few examples because I hate when I hear videos like this online and the guy says essentially what I've just said and doesn't give you any examples, because without an example, what am I meant to fucking do? What do? I don't have an example. So this is my example of how I would go about this. And this is what I actually do, even though I am experienced. This is how I do almost every run I come across. I would initially start by playing the game through, then playing it again with trying to do whatever category it is I would like to do. So for example, with Vanquish that I've been playing recently, I want to do a new game hard run, so I played it through once on normal. Now I'm playing it through again on hard. What I'll do after that is play it through on hard again. This is just as you would normally play the game, chunk by chunk, but start to take notes, okay? Oh, you can skip this guy. Oh, you can skip that guy. Then I might play it one more time if I feel that I need to. If not, I would start trying to single segment the game. And obviously, this depends on how long your game is. Vanquish, I'm looking at being about 2.5, 3 hours. So I would probably do 3 playthroughs before I started trying to single segment it, because it takes a while. Once I'm at that point, I'll do another run through with writing down the route. And I do this in quite a funky way, with practicing the levels and all of that. That's not really necessary for you. That's just how I like to do it. I'll maybe explain that in another audio clip or something, but what I like to do then is just play through it again and just literally write down what you're doing. Very basic. PJ actually mocked me for this the other day, the way I write it, but I don't care. It's really good, trust me. You would just write something like, go here, kill this guy, do this, kill that guy, the rocket launcher's really good at killing this guy, that sort of thing. Just whatever you found and pop it in there. I don't really grind, I don't go looking around, I don't try and learn what anyone else has done at this point, I just try and do my own thing. So at that point, I've got a logical expectation of what I can sort of expect to do. Usually, say, after you've done 3 runs, if you're finding you're taking about this long, set a goal a bit under that to do in a single segment, and then go for it. Then I like to run single segments for a bit, and then I go into my practice regime, which practice is another thing. Don't think you can be a good speedrunner without practicing. It's dumb. I read a tweet the other day from a guy saying, hey, maybe if I practice, my time will go down. Yeah, no shit, dude, of course. Practice is a whole other thing, but this is just how to approach it the first time you're trying to do a run. Manage your expectations, make sure they're sensible, make sure your goals are logical, you know, very, very simple sort of stuff. Don't go for hard tricks, not to start with. If you really like to do hard tricks, I mean, it probably would be remiss of me to tell you to just completely avoid them if you like that sort of thing, but you know if you're the kind of person who can and can't do a difficult trick. If you like to cram with flashcards before an exam, then maybe go learn a hard trick, but don't expect to do it in your single segment run, and then don't get frustrated if you can't. I would just advise logical progression. Start where you would normally play the game. You guys all know how to play games. I'm imagining you've probably all played at least 10,000 hours of games in your life. This is just a different way of playing games. It's all it is, all you got to remember. You can do it, you've got the entire skill set to do it, but don't start at the deep end. Swim from the deep end, the shallow end, to the deep end, you know. Land around in the shallow end for a bit, I don't care. Watch the others swimming around in the deep end, that's cool. But you need to logically progress. Very simple. Start easy, build up. A lot of problems runners have, because as I said, they've played so many games, they just assume they can go straight in at the deep end. Maybe you can, but honestly, if you've tried and failed, that's pretty much why. Okay, so that's just a little bit. I mean, I guess that's not that long. That's alright. Kind of concise, I suppose. I have no idea how actually anything's come across in this. So if you could leave any comments or feedback or whatever, tweet me at flicky-ish, that's my Twitter, or anything like that, that'd be great. So there you go, just a little bit about how to approach speedrunning. If it's terrible, let me know and I'll redo it. Okay, thanks.